My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 296 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before I do, let me give you $1,000. We are doing a $1,000 giveaway. It is 100% free to enter. It'll take you fewer than 2 minutes to do what you need to do to enter this giveaway. The only things anybody needs to do is subscribe to the We Want Picks YouTube channel, subscribe to our second YouTube channel, Picks Nation, and then comment on the giveaway video. That is it. And as long as we hit 20,000 for We Want Picks, which I think is going to happen this event, and then 10,000 at Picks Nation, I'm giving away $500. And if you happen to be a premium member, I will double it and give you $1,000. When we started this year, we had fewer than 10,000 subscribers. And my goal for this year was let's double it. And then let's get to 3,000 premium members. We are right there for both of those goals. So let's do this giveaway to drag us over that line so I can hit those 2023 goals. Subscribe to 2 channels, comment on 1 video, and you could win $1,000. The links to do all of that are below. Speaking of money, we cleaned up. UFC Vegas 83 was a very, very successful card for myself, for Jacob, and our almost 3,000 premium members. I'm up units on my straight bets. The safety parlay hit again. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but that is hitting at over 70%. And in the most volatile sport on the planet, hitting a single bet at over 70% is wild. I am quite proud of that. Jacob was up units as well. Jacob's bets did well overall. His lock of the week did miss, but he hit 2 other big-time underdogs. It's just a shame he didn't call them the lock of the week, but overall, the card was very successful. I made money. Jacob made money. Premium members made money. The safety parlay hit. We're heading into UFC 296. Historically, We Want Picks crushes pay-per-view events. If we just look at the last 5 pay-per-view events, we were up units on every single one. Both myself and Jacob were up units on every single one of the last 5 pay-per-views. Jacob's underdog lock of the week, 5-0. In the last 5 pay-per-views, up almost 9 units in those 5 pay-per-views. And my safety parlay has gone 4-1 in the last 5 pay-per-views. So pay-per-views continue to be a success for us, and let's ride that into UFC 296. If you're not a premium member, become one. It is only $10 a month. You go to WeWantPicks.com. You click Become a Member at the top. It's freaking $10. Last night, premium members paid for years worth of membership. The safety parlay alone, week in and week out, covers the cost of entry. But premium membership is going to get you more than bets. It's going to get you tools like the line movement tracker. You're going to get opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every single fighter on every single card. UFC 296, no fighters open as an underdog and will close as a favorite, at least not yet. But 6 fighters have had 20% line movement or more. Stephen Thompson, one of those largest movers. You're also going to get detailed data, metrics, and analytics. I like to focus on the tools here. Of course, we're going to give you picks for every single fight. We're going to give you bets for the fights that we think make sense. We're going to give you round line leans, confidence plays, and there's 7 of us doing that. It's not just me. It's not just Jacob. There's 7 people giving you picks, bets, round line leans, and all of that for every fight. But the tools are what separate our premium offering versus some random people with a Patreon. Another one of those tools is the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. It's going to be 38 columns of information that you can use to find your spots, to jump into some prop bets, to scare you away for some bets that don't make sense. These are very useful come Fridays when you get the takedown and the significant strike prop bets. You're also going to get a DraftKings optimizer if you play DraftKings Fantasy, which I know there's millions of you out there that do. We have an optimizer that will build daily fantasy lineups for you, preloaded with the best ownership projections in the game. All of this and so much more that I do not have time to mention because people get angry in the comment section is available to you right now for only $10 a month. I don't know if you understand that value. $10 a month, the greatest value in this space. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top, and you instantly unlock every single thing that you need. Speaking of doing some stuff, do me a favor. Follow our socials, subscribe, do those things. Cost nothing. It is greatly appreciated. Our Discord is 100% free. Does not cost any money to join that Discord. If you're a premium member, you unlock some channels. But other than that, the Discord's free. The rest of these socials are obviously free. Click subscribe, follow, all of those things. We try to have unique content on each one of these platforms. And finally, if you want to send us something, every single pay-per-view, I film a vlog. It is Sunday morning. Saturday, I'm going to go get the mail. We're going to open the mail. We're going to do all the things. Last month, for the last pay-per-view, somebody sent some hot sauce. It ruined my guts, but it was a good time. You want to send something? We will open it on the vlog. Here is the address. Just don't send anything alive. That's really the number one. Or powders. Outside of that, feel free. Let's go ahead and break down this card. UFC 296 is a sneaky good card. At first, I was like, this is okay. And then as I'm doing the graphics and my notes and breaking all of this down, I was like, holy crap, this is a very good card. A very good card. And I mean, speaking of graphics, I look at these things. Look at these things. Look at the information on this. This isn't Tapology scrolling in the background. Look at this. Opening up, UFC 296. We have Randy Brown taking on Muslim Salikhov. Randy Brown's a very good striker. He's got good range, and he controls it well. He's stupid tall for this weight class, 6'3", at welterweight. And he uses long jabs and kicks. He's going to keep you at bay. And then when he's ready, he's going to use his speed to initiate some solid boxing. He has 9 takedowns in the UFC, and while he doesn't use them very often, they're nice trips. And then when he hits the mat, he's got good jiu-jitsu. He's coming off that decision win over Wellington Turman, where he controlled the striking and he had 2 offensive takedowns. He's taking on Muslim Salikhov. This guy's a solid striker who hits very hard, and he does have wrestling in his back pocket as well. He holds nothing back. Almost every single thing he throws is a significant strike. He has good takedown defense, solid takedown offense, and very good striking. He's coming off that loss to Nicholas Dalby, where they traded some takedowns, but ultimately Dalby's pressure was the differentiator. Muslim is very good. And if this fight was a few years ago, when he wasn't 39 years old, he'd be pretty live here. He's got power. He's got like a weird enough striking style that he could throw Randy off with his timing. And that range might not work with the movements that Muslim does. But he's almost 40. He is slowing down. He's probably going to get picked apart at range here. I think he should lean heavily on his wrestling if he's going to want to have a chance in this fight. Because otherwise, he's going to get lit up at range. Randy's going to be the pick. I do have a parlay already up. I put it up the other day for premium members called the Anti-40 Parlay. And we'll walk through it. Randy Brown is one of those legs. He is fighting a 40-year-old, and I think he wins. There's a couple of 40-year-olds on this card, and we slap them together. Next up, at UFC 296, we have Shamil Gaziev taking on Martin Buday. Listen, I will tell you this. That picture of Shamil right there, I mean, he looks like that dude lives under a bridge. He haunts children's dreams. That picture is not flattering. But then when I went to go do the tape, I do the graphics before I do the tape. Then when I went to go watch tape, I was like, oh, he's not like this wheel bridge troll looking guy. He's like normal. He's a heavyweight. I don't know why this picture is just so wildly unflattering. But this dude, I mean, Jesus. I guarantee when we do the Tuesday break, or actually we're doing it Monday, myself and Jacob, he's going to make comments that this is what I look like. I do not. I wish I could grow that beard. Outside of that, I do not look like this. Anyway, Shamil Gaziev, other than not being photogenic at all, he's a very large Dagestani, but instead of being a nonstop wrestler, he's a powerful striker. He's going to march forward, and he's going to land big. He is very athletic despite that shape, and he's going to work in more than one spinning attack when you least expect it. He has very real power in his hands and a relaxed striking style. He has wrestling as well with some big double legs or some body lock takedowns, but he can be taken down a little easier than you would assume somebody with that beard could be. He's very tough. He can deal with adversity, and he is extremely dangerous. He's taking on Martin Buday. This guy's a powerful striker. He's got heavy hands of his own, and he has 11 stoppage wins. He's got solid footwork. He throws everything with intent. He's averaging almost 6 significant strikes landed per minute, but he himself is hittable, and he can be a bit of a slow starter. He is coming off that submission win over Josh Parisian, where he doubled the strikes, had a takedown, and overall, he actually looked fantastic. I'm pretty sure I have picked and bet on Martin Buday in every single one of his UFC fights. In fact, he was in my safety parlay last time out, but this fight is different. He's not fighting some pillow-fisted bag of jello like he has been. He's fighting a monster. This guy's got power, a cardio, and a chin. I do like Shamil here. If you go watch his fight, I like to watch. You're going to find highlights, and it's like knockout. No. I like to see the whole fight. I want to see him in trouble. What happens if he's taken out? What happens if he gets hit? If you go back and watch the Grigory Panorev fight, I 100% said that wrong, but you'll figure it out. It was not an easy fight. He had to gut that win out. He pulled off a late finish. He might have lost that decision, but he was never out of it, continued to come forward, continued to work, didn't quit on himself, and I love that. So Shamil is the pick. I do have a small quarter of a unit bet on him at plus 155. It's heavyweights, so it's a quarter of a unit, but plus 155 seems like good value for a dude who's putting people out the way that he does. Then we have Andre Fili taking on Lucas Almeida. Andre Fili, still one of the greatest nicknames in this space. It's Andre Touchy Fili. I absolutely love it. This guy's very well-rounded. He was on the path to be like the next big thing out of that Team Alpha Male gym, but he never really lived up to that hype. My theory is he was pushed a little too hard too soon, didn't get enough time to evolve before he was thrown in there with some killers. He's unbelievably talented, and similar to Cody Garbrandt, right? Teammates, they look the same. But similar to Cody Garbrandt, his chin will not always be there in a fight, and neither will his decision-making. Style-wise, Andre is a very well-rounded technical brawler with some solid wrestling skills. He gets hit often, and you can see that with his negative striking differential, and he relies on his chin way too much. He's coming off that loss to Nathaniel Wood, where they were just trading knockdowns, but ultimately Andre Fili ended up getting outstruck. He's taking on Lucas Almeida. This guy's a powerful striker who loves throwing big, heavy 1-2s. He comes forward, he sets up that big right hand. When he senses blood or he thinks, there's a little bit of issues going on there and he feels like he can get this fight finished, he drops his fans. He comes plowing hands, not fans. He comes plowing forward and he throws whatever he needs to get the finish. He has a very real killer instinct. But he is aware enough to know that he's a striker and not a grappler. So if he ends up in a scramble or he drops you and he ends up on top, he will literally just stand up, let you get up and reset. His takedown defense is not very good at 40% and is the largest hole in his game. He is coming off that loss to Pat Sabatini where he only landed 2 significant strikes in 2 rounds before getting submitted. Andre's the favorite here. He should be. And he should win because of the wrestling. Andre could also give this fight away and lose because he doesn't wrestle as much as he should. He doesn't use the wrestling enough. And he doesn't have the chin to not be using the wrestling. Off talent alone, Andre Fili should win this fight 15 out of 10 times. But based off actual execution of his talent, his chin, that laissez-faire attitude towards wrestling, I'll give you guys a minute to Google what laissez-faire means. Okay, his chin, that laissez-faire attitude towards wrestling, I can't pick the guy. I just can't trust him enough to pick him. I can't pick him expecting him to wrestle when he has shown he doesn't always wrestle. The last time we've successfully seen him wrestle in a fight was 3.5 years ago. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to shoot my shot on the underdog here. I'm going to pick Lucas because that power is very real. Andre likes to fight with his chin up, but I can't bet on a guy in Lucas with a 40% takedown defense. So Lucas is going to be the pick, but there's not going to be a bet here. Neither one of these guys are trustworthy enough for your money. Andre Fili, all the talent in the world, doesn't necessarily always use it. Lucas Almeida hits like a freight train, doesn't have a ton of takedown defense. So I'm going to go ahead, watch this fight. I'll enjoy this fight, but I am not going to spend money on this fight. Then we have a very sneaky good fight. We have Tagir Ulanbekov versus Cody Durden, who's an underdog. Cody Durden stepping up. Underdog city. I think he's been an underdog in, his last 5 fights or something absurd like that. But Tagir Ulanbekov is a dominant wrestler. He's got decent striking. It's mostly there to set up the wrestling. He does have a nice jab, and he sends a right behind it. And then there's a takedown attempt. Just bang, bang, takedown. Bang, bang, takedown. Just every single time. Pretty formulaic. He does have a nice jab, and he will pump that. But again, it's really just there to keep your face busy before he shoots takedowns. All 3 of his UFC wins were pretty grapple heavy. He had 4 takedowns against Nascimento, 5 takedowns against the little Bruno Silva, and then a quick takedown with a snatch against Nate Maness. The only real complaint I have about Tagir is his takedown defense. You go back to that loss against Tim Elliott, he was a bit exposed, and I worry that that's what could happen in this matchup because he's fighting Cody Durden. Cody Durden is a very pressure-heavy wrestler. He averages almost 6 takedowns per fight. He likes to come forward, throw looping power shots, and then look for those takedowns. He's going to chain wrestle. He's going to continue to dive at lengths until he gets it to the ground. While his wrestling can be nonstop pressure, he can also be loose on top. There's not much control. You're averaging almost 6 takedowns. That's because people stood up on you 5 times. He's coming off that win over Jake Hadley where he did have 4 takedowns and 7.5 minutes of control time. He seems to really be hitting his own right now. I don't know what to do in this fight. Both of these guys are pressure wrestlers, and I'm pretty sure whoever shoots first is going to set that pace and get that going. Neither guy's a great striker. Both guys just sort of throw bombs to set up the takedown, and both guys do have 3 rounds of cardio. The only real edge I'm going to give anybody here is probably Cody for his takedown defense, but he hasn't fought any spectacular wrestlers for us to really know how it's going to look. Tagir has fewer fights, but he's fought the higher level of competition, and I really want to pick Cody here, especially after his last few performances, so I will. I'm going to go the underdog. This might look very similar to Tagir's fight with Tim Elliott, where Cody is going to survive a little bit of trouble and then have success with the power and the wrestling. Cody's going to be the pick. I'm going to watch the line here. I'm going to eat my own dog food, drink my own champagne. I'm going to use the line movement tracker. I'm going to watch the line and see what direction that is heading, because I think Cody's a phenomenal underdog. He's one of these guys like Tim Elliott. We just saw Tim Elliott last night step up on short notice, come in there and do what he does. All that talk about, I'm going to show people my striking. It's all bullshit. You can trust these guys to come in there and wrestle, and that's what I need from Cody Durden. I need to trust him to come forward and wrestle. If you want to use the line movement tracker and you want to unlock all the bets and picks, go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It's only $10. You're going to unlock everything you ever needed. And yes, this is the last event of 2023. But you know what's going to happen Saturday night after UFC 296? The entire website is going to flip over to the next event. There are no breaks here. You're going to get many events worth out of that $10. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. Then we have Alonzo Menifield taking on Dustin Jacoby. As I mentioned, this is a good card. The last 3 breakdowns I just did were all very good fights, and this is another one. We got Alonzo Menifield. This guy is a beast. He's got great power, pretty good takedown defense for the most part, and he's always looking to take your head off with every single punch. His striking can be a little bit wild, can be a little bit sloppy, but the power is absolutely undeniable. Every single punch looks like it's going to do something bad. He has confidence in his 75% takedown defense, and that makes him even more dangerous on his feet because he is willing to trade. He is willing to swing. When Alonzo's coming forward and he's being the aggressor, he's a very dangerous guy. He's coming off that rematch win over Jimmy Crute where he literally sent Jimmy into retirement. He's taking on Dustin Jacoby. This guy's a very high-level kickboxer who during his actual professional kickboxing stint was ranked number 2 in the world. The second best heavyweight or light heavyweight kickboxer on the planet for a period of time. Then he came back to MMA. He does a great job keeping things technical. He does a great job working your legs. He's very technical sound. He's got good power, good volume, 60% takedown defense. You'd like to see it a little higher, but given the level of competition, that's not that bad. It's an understated number. He's got solid takedown defense, and he does a great job making you pay on the way in. You shoot a takedown, he's going to hit you. He's going to make you feel it so that maybe you'll question if you want to shoot another one. He's coming off that bounce-back knockout win over Kennedy and Chukwu. This should be a really fun fight. I'm going to try to keep this as logical as possible. This fight scares the shit out of me, I'm going to be honest with you. But I'm going to try to keep this as logical as possible. This should be a striking match. Neither one of these guys have wrestle-first game plans. Alonzo is going to be the far more powerful striker. Jacoby's going to be the far more technical striker. And as I mentioned, at one point in time, Dustin Jacoby was the second best kickboxer on planet Earth. And if this is going to be a kickboxing match, I have to go with Jacoby. I have to go with the more technical kickboxer. He does have power. He can be dangerous. It's not as if he's pillow-fisted. So I'm going to lean Jacoby here. The only concern I have is 2 fights ago, Dustin was dropped for the very first time in his MMA career. And if Azmat, who dropped him, can put him down, I mean, Menifield could certainly do the same. Dustin's going to be the pick. I'm still deciding if I trust him enough to bet. You're going to see this, okay, he lost to Azamat. He lost to Khalil Roundtree. I thought he beat Khalil Roundtree. That Azamat fight was a lot closer. If it wasn't for the drop, he probably could have taken that decision. So Dustin Jacoby, yeah, he's 3-2 in his last 5, but those 2 losses, you look a little closer, they're not big issues, if you will. So Dustin's going to be the pick. He's literally going to be the better kickboxer in what should be a kickboxing match, but the Alonzo power scares me. Dustin getting dropped a few fights ago scares me, but we'll see if I end up placing a bet or doing anything with that. If you're a premium member, make sure you link your Discord so that when I do place a bet, you get an alert to your phone immediately. You can do that on your account page. Then we have Casey O'Neill coming back after her first career loss to take on Ariane Lipski. At her core, Casey O'Neill is a Muay Thai striker. She's got solid elbows. She's willing to brawl. She gets in the firefight. She can wrestle as well. She's got 8 takedowns in the UFC, a 71% takedown defense. She has incredible volume at almost 9 significant strikes landed per minute, but she does get hit as well, giving up a combined 265 strikes in her last 2 fights. She's coming off that first career loss to Jennifer Maia, where she did have the volume, but just a touch behind on the striking. She's taking on Ariane Lipski. Ariane is a decent striker who can grapple as well. The problem with her grappling is that she needs to be the one on top. She needs to be in control. If she's taken down, she's off her back, she struggles and sometimes could even get finished. Her evolution, though, these last few years have been incredible. In her last 2 fights, she has defended a combined 19 takedowns. She went 3 for 3 on her own takedown attempts. She's coming off the close win over Melissa Gatto, where her takedown defense was absolutely the highlight. My gut reaction, as soon as I saw this, I'm doing the graphics, that's my process. The first thing I do is set up my notes spreadsheet, which I'm reading now. The second thing I do is all the graphics. Then I go back and fill out the notes, do the research and all of that. So I get to see the matchups, I absorb all of it, I see all the stats, and then I go back and do the real research. My gut reaction when I started to do the graphics and I saw the matchup, I was like, Ariana's not great and she's going to lose this fight. Or Ariane is not great and she's going to lose this fight. Then I remembered that was my gut reaction the last 2 times she fought. And it is clear that she's evolved as a fighter. The addition of grappling to her skill set has proven successful. She's defending takedowns well. The timing on her own takedowns are better than she's ever had. And if Casey O'Neill fights this fight the same way that she fought Roxanne Modafferi, she's going to get her second career loss. I am going to lean Ariane here. Casey's she is very well-rounded. But if we zoom in and we look at their last couple of fights, the last 2 Casey O'Neill fights, she did not look good. The last 2 Ariane Lipski fights, she looked absolutely spectacular, and it feels like they're on different paths. One of them put in the work, got the losses, took her lumps, and got better. The other one is just finding out now where she actually fits in the UFC food chain. I mean, I'm slight leaning Ariane Lipski here. Low confidence pick in Ariane Lipski. I think she could have some success with the striking volume, and then she can mix in a few takedowns. My biggest fear is Casey O'Neill's size. She is big as hell, but I'm going to shoot my shot here. I'm going to pick Ariane Lipski to win, and this could look exactly like that fight a few weeks ago with Dan Hardy's wife, Veronica Hardy. It could look exactly the same as Veronica Hardy versus Jamie Lynn Horth. Veronica Hardy moving around, staying busy, working in takedowns, doing all the things, and then the third round comes, and the bigger, stronger woman pushes her around a little bit. You get 2 rounds to 1. This could look exactly like that. Ariane Lipski is going to be the pick. Then we have Cody Garbrandt. This guy has never been in a boring fight. Taking on Brian Kelleher, who has also never been in a boring fight. This, like I said, this is a great card, top to bottom. Half these fights actually matter, right? There's title implications. The other half are just fun. Like this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. It's not going to affect anything in the rankings. But this is a really fun fight. We got Cody Garbrandt. This guy is the former bantamweight champion of the world. If you're newer here, you have not seen the success of Cody Garbrandt. But I promise you, when he was at his peak, this guy looked absolutely unbelievable. But he has had some highs and lows these last 5 years. He's a phenomenal boxer. He's got fantastic footwork and very real power. When he is on, he's unbelievable. He beat Dominic Cruz to win that belt with phenomenal footwork, clean striking, and the threat of wrestling. But when he's off, he's throwing punches. He's looking at the lights for whatever reason, and his chin just gets absolutely blasted, and he's out cold. He is coming off that win, though, over Trevin Jones, where he looked sharp. He had the patience that we have been begging for years, and all of a sudden it was like, all right, Cody Garbrandt could be back. Garbrandt. Anyway, he's taking on Brian Kelleher. This guy's a well-rounded guy with clean boxing, decent power, good grappling, and he sets a great pace. He's very fun to watch. He's always looking for a finish. You can look at his record and be like, all right, he's a bit of a journeyman, 24-14. But the reality is that he's a very good fighter, and his losses are to the better guys in the division or super one-dimensional dominant wrestlers. He seems to struggle there for real. If the only fight of his that you ever saw was his last one with Mario Batista, you would disagree with everything I just said. He looked terrible, and he had nothing to offer other than jumping guillotine, but he is better than that one single performance. Cody lost his chin years ago, right? He's just too willing to brawl. He gets you rocked because his boxing is so clean. He has so much power. You get a little whatever, and then he comes charging it head up, and then just a blind punch, and all of a sudden Cody's napping on the ground. But outside of a flash knockout, which can happen, he should dominate here. He's the much better wrestler, the much better striker, the higher IQ fighter outside of the outbursts. And the more accomplished fighter overall, the more dangerous fighter. He's better literally everywhere. He should absolutely win this fight. But every time Cody gets in the cage, you have to worry about his chin. You have to worry about him getting cracked. He did showcase some patience in his last fight with Trevin Jones. That Cody with the patience is a very confident pick. The odds are 2-1. The chin is the only reason it's 2-1 and not 10-1. Cody Garbrandt should absolutely win this fight. And if you trust his chin, then it might be worth spending $1 or $2 on him. I don't know yet if I trust that chin, but he should definitely win this fight. Then we have Irene Aldana, fresh off of her title loss, taking on Karol Rosa. Irene Aldana, very technical boxer. She's got some legit power. She sets a solid pace. She's able to keep that fight standing, right? She's got that 75% takedown defense. Her only losses in the last 4 years are to former professional boxer Holly Holm and greatest of all time Amanda Nunes. And both of them were all in on the wrestling when they fought Irene because they wanted to avoid that striking. Irene is big. She's strong. She's dangerous. But she is coming off that one-sided loss to Amanda Nunes, and she would not be the first person to work herself to a title shot, lose, and then just downward spiral. She's taking on Karol Rosa. She's a busy striker. She lands almost 6 significant strikes per minute, and she is willing to trade. She is a decision fighter for the most part, but she's got some solid takedown offense and defense. She has 11 takedowns in 8 UFC fights and 68% takedown defense. She doesn't really have much power, but she does have cardio and pressure. She's coming off that very close win over Yana Santos, formerly Yana Kunitskaya, where a lone takedown was probably what clinched that win. I do think Irene wins here. I do think she should be the 2-1 favorite that she is. But it's getting dicey. That 2-1 favorite is probably based off of what she's accomplished and some of the danger that she poses. But I am nervous about it because Karol is a very busy striker who also has some power every now and then and can sneak in a takedown. She dropped Norma Dumont, and the only reason she lost that fight is because Norma held her against the cage the whole time. If she gets to her feet and she's grinding, she can land clean. She could have some real success. I'm still going to pick Aldana here, because I do think she's just a better overall striker. She's very big. She's powerful. All of those things, I don't trust her with my money. I wish the odds were closer. 2-1 is probably correct, but I don't trust her with my money. And I'm more hesitant than most when it comes to people coming off of title losses. I actually did a deep dive because I took my notes. I have that in my notes, like coming off the title loss, might be spiraling. And then I did a deep dive. I went through all the people that lost to Amanda Nunes and what happened in the next fight. It was sort of a mixed bag, so I can't even really back anything up with facts. But I just feel like there are a lot of people that work their way to a title shot, get their shit pushed in, and then we don't hear from them for a while. They don't do anything meaningful for a while. Anyway, Irene Aldana is the pick, probably medium-level confidence in that, and a lot of it has to do with her size and her power. Then we have a very interesting, very fun, very new featured prelim of the evening. Bryce Mitchell stepping up on short notice after Giga Chikadze dropped, and he's taking on Josh Emmett. This should be a really fun fight. I think I have Josh's age wrong. I'm pretty sure that's 49, 58 years old, something like that. Anyway, Josh Emmett is a wrestler with very legit power in his hands. He has 11 knockdowns in 13 fights, and that includes his losses. You'll see he averages 1 takedown per fight, but that is a nonsense statistic because 8 of his 11 takedowns came in one single fight. So the reality is that Josh Emmett is a very accomplished wrestler who does not use his wrestling very often because he's got great speed and power in his hands. He's coming off the destruction by Ilia Topuria, where he was outstruck and out-wrestled, but reminded us how tough he is. Ilia Topuria beat the absolute piss out of both of these guys. He's taking on Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell is a Bible-thumping backwoods boy. He's a dominant wrestler. He sticks to a game plan. He averages over 3 takedowns per fight, and fewer than 3 significant strikes landed per minute. So basically, he's not throwing any punches and he's getting a whole bunch of takedowns. He is just diving at legs. His striking is awkward, but he doesn't even pretend to want to strike. He just keeps his hands low, starts diving at legs, just trying to tie other people's shoes, just right after it every single time. If he gets you to the ground, which is almost a guarantee, he even took down Ilia Topuria, he doesn't strike. He works for submissions. He keeps control, and he has some of the most incredible grappling scrambles and control that you're going to see. He's coming off that one-sided win over Dan Ige where he had 5 takedowns with 7.5 minutes of control time. This is another matchup, if we go back and talk about some of the other ones I broke down, where the style is going to make the fight because Josh Emmett is the better striker. Josh Emmett's the more powerful striker. Josh Emmett is the far more credentialed wrestler. He actually competed. He's earned some title. He did some actual things on a wrestling mat before his MMA career, but he doesn't use his wrestling. And then we have Bryce Mitchell, who's known as a wrestler in the UFC and can set a nonstop wrestling pace, has no wrestling credentials. He comes from I'm not trashing, I'm about to trash. He comes from a state where wrestling is not a meaningful thing. Nobody has ever cared about Arkansas wrestling. Nobody has. Let me see how many national champions have come out of high school Arkansas. And I'm saying that insultingly. My point being, Bryce Mitchell did not have this long storied wrestling career that Josh Emmett has. But Bryce Mitchell has managed to use wrestling in fights, to shoot takedowns, to take down some of the better wrestlers, to have incredible control. So I trust Bryce Mitchell with the worst wrestling to be the better wrestler in this matchup. And that's what makes MMA so great. How many times did George St. Pierre out-wrestle the hell out of people, even though he didn't wrestle a minute in his entire life? Bryce Mitchell, similar feel. He's going to out-wrestle the better wrestler. He's going to be diving at legs, take Josh Emmett down. Josh Emmett's going to be standing there throwing these huge punches, take his beating. This fight will go 15 full minutes because Josh Emmett is insanely tough. But Bryce Mitchell's going to win this fight. Minus 140 are the odds. That seems fair. I have a half a unit on him at minus 140. Obviously, the short notice is a big question for everybody. Bryce Mitchell's a wild dude. There was like drama going into his last fight, videos surfacing. He talks about how poor he is. And there's a lot of random stuff. But Bryce Mitchell seems to be in shape, seems to show up, seems to do what he needs to do. And I trust him in this fight. Josh Emmett, very good, very dangerous. But at his age, he's like going the Michael Chandler route where he's just abandoning the wrestling, wants to knock people out and be fun. And that's fine. It's working for Michael Chandler. He's getting the biggest paydays he's ever had because of that. But Michael Chandler's not 40. Josh Emmett is. Bryce Mitchell is the pick. I got that bet on him, and I trust him to wrestle. But before we hit the main card and talk about Ian Garry's weird marital situation, let's talk about the safety parlay. It has hit 6 of the last 8 cards. The average monthly unit profit from the safety parlay alone is 1.624 units. That is net profit, and it hits at a 70% accuracy. In the most volatile sport, the safety parlay remains a shining success. I looked up at the heavens for that one. Remains a shining success. I am genuinely very proud of the safety parlay. When it misses, it like really affects me personally. Luckily, it's been hitting 6 of the last 8 events. If you want to unlock the safety parlay for UFC 296, it is included in everything that we do and everything that we offer. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's only $10 a month. You're going to get everything you could ever imagine and then more. One of those things being the safety parlay, which did hit at UFC Vegas 83. It did hit 6 of the last 8 events. It averages almost 2 units of net profit every single month, and it hits at a 70% accuracy. Let's look at the main card for UFC 296. Opening up the main card is what was a pretty good fight. And now with all the drama surrounding Ian Machado or Ian Garry, however much you respect or don't respect his marriage, is now an interesting matchup. Vicente Luque, 22-9. He's going to be the most experienced fighter, the highest ranked fighter that Ian has ever fought. But Vicente's very good everywhere. He's got power in his hands, solid wrestling, fantastic submissions if it does get to the ground. At the end of the day, he is a striker. He is looking to bang out on his feet. He has a 62% takedown defense, and that might seem low, but let's keep in mind Vicente Luque has only fought some of the best in the world for the last couple of years. The upper echelon of the division for a little bit now. He just defended 5 of Rafael Dos Anjos' takedowns in that main event. And he can be a sniper on his feet, slick on the ground. And now we know he has offensive wrestling as well because he was taking down RDA over and over in that fight. I don't think a lot of people saw that game plan coming. He's taking on Ian Garry, or Ian Machado Garry. He's a very good striker. He's got crazy hand speed, fantastic footwork. He is hittable, but he does land an impressive almost 7 significant strikes per minute, and he has solid enough takedown defense to keep his fight standing. While he does have power, it's not necessarily one-punch power, right? It's not Alonzo Menifield type power. It's just incredible speed and timing. It's going to catch people off guard. And all of a sudden, you don't know what's going on, and those are the shots that really do the most damage. We haven't seen too much on the ground from him, but that's really a testament to how good his stand-up is. He's coming off the insanely one-sided win over Neil Magny, where he tripled that dude's strikes, and he had 2 takedowns of his own. Ian Garry is clearly a very good fighter. But I think we're going to find out how good he actually is. And while I think Vicente is a touch overrated, and people hate when I say that, but I think Vicente is a little bit overrated. He's still very good everywhere. He has a ton of experience, and we know that he can wrestle. If he sticks to a wrestle-heavy game plan, he can probably win this fight, and I would love to see it. I would love to see it. But his last 2 high-level strikers that he fought pieced him up. Wonder Boy and Jeff Neal both dropped him. They both just absolutely outstruck him, and Jeff Neal actually finished him and gave him a brain bleed. I think Ian can keep the distance. I think he can dominate the striking. I think he'd avoid all this outside noise about his cougar wife that snatched him up just for the paychecks. I think Ian can put that stuff aside, but I'm very interested to see what happens because there's a lot. It's not even just the wife drama on Twitter or wherever else. There's a lot of fighters talking about we kicked him out of the gym. He's a shitty teammate. He was at Vicente's gym for a while. Why would he want to fight him? This guy sucks. Like, there's a lot of noise, and he's not a very well-liked guy in the space right now. And I'm just curious to see what that mental fortitude is. Does he care? He might not care at all. It might mean literally nothing to him. Or it might be eating him up, right? He wants to be liked. He wants to be loved. I have no clue, but we'll find out if that noise matters in this matchup. I do think it's a favorable matchup. They trained together. He accepted this fight. I believe he even asked for this fight. And you don't do that if it's somebody that you know beats the hell out of you in training all the time. So Ian Garry knows something that we don't. Ian Garry's going to win this fight. Then we have another fun, interesting fight with a 40-year-old man. We have Tony Ferguson taking on Paddy the Baddy. Tony Ferguson is now on a 6-fight skid. I'm pretty sure it's the longest losing streak the UFC has ever had with a fighter that didn't get cut. He hasn't won a fight since the eye injury with Donald Cerrone in 2019. In his prime, he was accurate, unorthodox, dangerous everywhere. He is tough in nails. He's got the mental fortitude of David Goggins. And while he's coming off 3 stoppage losses in a row, he actually is pretty durable. And he has all the tools to pull off a late career upset. That most recent loss on that 6-fight skid was a late submission to Bobby Green back at UFC 291. He's taking on Paddy the Baddy. He's coming back. He's got twins on the way. He was a fat slob 2 months ago, and now he's looking good. He's in camp. He's ready to go. He's a hot prospect. He's coming off his 4th UFC win. He's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's got a good amount of experience, right? 20-3 overall, even though it's only his 5th fight in the UFC. He can be hittable because he tends to keep his chin pretty high, but he's got good striking offense, a ton of volume. He's a very smooth grappler who flows well on the ground and really does have the tools to be the next big thing. He's coming off a very sketchy win over Jared Gordon, where the striking was about even, but he was taken down 3 times, and a lot of people think Jared won that fight. And listen, most of us are going to be rooting for Tony. Not for any, I'm not an anti-bat. I like Paddy a lot. But I think a lot of us are going to be rooting for Tony Ferguson just because of what he's done. Like, the body of work, he's a weirdo. We all like weirdos. So I think we'll be rooting for Tony Ferguson. And I think a lot of people are going to try to make the case for him here. They're going to talk about things like comparing their levels of competition or talking about how Paddy should have lost his last fight. But the reality is that the Tony we love is long gone. The Tony we all love is a DUI arrest, a restraining order from his wife ago. It's been a while since this dude went out there, didn't have wild issues, and got a win going. He's a shell of himself. A young, cocky Paddy is going to win this fight. This is a genius matchup for the UFC to put together. Paddy the Baddy wins. He is in that anti-40 parlay. He's fighting a 40-year-old beat-up Tony Ferguson who we're all going to watch and just, oh, God, we're going to feel bad for Tony Ferguson come Saturday night. Then we have another heartbreaking matchup. We have Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Stephen Thompson, one of the most liked, handsome, by the way, but one of the most liked fighters in the UFC. I think by fans, by other fighters. I think everybody loves Stephen Thompson except the UFC. The UFC hates his guts. He didn't accept that fight with Michel Pereira, and they hate him. So they said, here's Shavkat Rakhmonov. Good luck with that. And that's why this is heartbreaking a little bit. Because Shavkat Rakhmonov, I think, is a special guy. He's one of those guys that when you watch him, you're like, he's going to do big things. He's 17-0. He has a 100% finish rate. He's knocking people out on the feet. He's taking people down. He's submitting people. He's even jumping guillotine and getting those. He can win this fight anywhere. He's very hard to hit. He's got a ton of power, solid defensive wrestling and judo. He's very active when he gets to the ground, and he's coming off that submission win over Jeff Neal, where you could say the striking went really well for him. A lot of people are going to say, I guarantee Jacob says this on our breakdown together, oh, he got exposed, he got exposed, he got exposed. I don't think he got exposed. I think he was toying around with Jeff Neal before he finished him. How do you get exposed in a dominant finish? Anyway, taking on Wonderboy, one of my favorite fighters. He's got that karate-style striking. It works really well for him. He uses his low hands, a wide base, and he's going to bounce in and out. He comes in, he cracks you, and then boom, he's gone. He's not a powerful guy, but his footwork and movement are very impressive, and he catches a lot of people off guard. He has wins over Robert Whittaker, Jorge Masvidal, Johnny Hendricks, Vicente Luque. He beat Kevin Holland in his last actual fight. His only 2 losses in the last 4 years have been to heavy grapplers, and he's coming off that Kevin Holland win and the failed weight situation. When Michel Pereira missed weight and Wonderboy refused to fight him, the UFC was like, well, we hate this guy. We hate one of the most likable guys in the organization. And now Wonderboy is fighting one of these scarier prospects in the division. This is a spite matchup, and unfortunately for Steven, it'll work. As much as I love Wonderboy, I don't see him stopping the takedowns. Not at 40 years old, not against Shavkat. Shavkat's going to be the pick. I would be happy to be Gabriel Bonfim wrong here. And that comparison is because Shavkat Rakhmonov has a 100% finish rate. So did Gabriel Bonfim. Then Nicholas Dalby stayed tough, and all of a sudden, Gabriel Bonfim's a bum. I would be happy if that happened. I love Wonderboy. I'd love for him to win. He's 40. Shavkat is in that anti-40 parlay as well. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. We have Alexandre Pantoja defending his belt for the very first time against Brandon Royval. This is a rematch from 2 years ago. Pantoja got the takedowns and the submission. I'm surprised that we're getting this fight again, and especially at these odds. But Alexandre Pantoja is a very fun fighter. He loves walking forward and just going to work. He's got good power. He'll give out some nice damage, but he's also a fantastic grappler with good control and ground and pound. His striking is pretty formulaic. He doesn't take too many risks, but it's effective. And when he combines it with his power and his pressure, he's doing really well. He's incredibly durable. And the only people who have really been able to beat him and have a ton of success against him are people that went all in on the wrestling and the control. He's coming off an incredible back and forth title fight over Brandon Moreno, where his cardio was probably the most impressive thing. He's taking on Brandon Royval, one of the more exciting guys in the UFC, period, let alone this division. He's always looking for a finish. He's got enough cardio to set a relentless pace for 15 minutes. I assume enough for 25 minutes. He's dangerous on his feet. He's got diverse striking, great speed. He's also a solid grappler with tricky submissions and a willingness to chase them. He throws crazy. He brings a ton of pressure, and he just keeps coming forward. Brandon Royval is a problem for a lot of people, but he is sort of a kill or be killed kind of guy. All but one of his UFC fights have ended in finish. He's coming off that knockout win over Mataus Nicolau, which earned him this title shot. This should be an incredible fight between two guys who put it all on the line every single time they go out there. Brandon Royval is going to be the more dangerous guy in this matchup and more willing to take risks. He has absolutely no problem spinning or chasing a shove that he really shouldn't be chasing, but I think Pantoja is going to be too much for him. Brandon only has a 39% takedown defense, which will be exploited. I see Pantoja winning this fight by finish, 3rd or 4th round. It's a rematch. That wasn't that long ago, and Pantoja won that fight already. I think he wins it again. I think his odds are solid, and I do have a good-sized bet on him that you could see now at WeWantPicks.com. If you're not premium, just click Become a Member, and then you'll unlock that bet. Main event of the evening. We got Leon Edwards taking on Colby Covington after Leon insisted, I am not fighting this guy. I'll retire before I fight this guy. Well, here he is fighting this guy. Leon Edwards, very well-rounded guy. Primarily a striker. He's got nice body kicks, nice boxing, nice wrestling. He's averaging more than 1 takedown per fight. He took down Nate Diaz 4 times in that fight. He bodied Kamaru Usman in their second fight and full-mounted him. He's good everywhere. He's got great cardio, solid fight IQ. He's coming off the title defense win over Kamaru Usman, where he showed the world the first time wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just a head kick fluke. All of a sudden, in the second fight, he's defending takedowns, keeping the pace, doing all the things, and won that fight outright. Taking on Colby Covington. This guy's just a non-stop wrestler. He has shown an incredible amount of heart and grit. He's a high-pace, high-volume guy who comes forward with punches in bunches, and he doesn't let you settle into a rhythm. His striking numbers are incredible in both wins and losses. In his fight against Robbie Lawler, he landed 179 strikes, 10 takedowns. In his fight against RDA, he had 100 strikes, 3 takedowns, and that's where he won his interim title. He's constantly coming forward, constantly mixing in takedowns with strikes, and that makes him a really tough matchup for a lot of people coming off that win over Jorge Masvidal a while ago. This dude hasn't fought in a year and a half. I get the notion, I get the logic that Kobe is a nonstop wrestler and Leon can get taken down. I see Kobe's odds at plus 145, and I want to jump on him. Especially, you guys know me, I love wrestlers. I favor wrestlers, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I was one of the few people that actually thought Leon lost his last fight. But I fully recognize how good of a striker he is and how little quit he has. He was getting mauled in that title win. And then late 5th round, boom, got it done. The mental fortitude it takes to not quit on yourself in the biggest fight of your career, when you're getting the shit kicked out of you for 24 out of 25 minutes, is incredible. Comey is almost 2 years removed from his last fight. And even though it was a pretty one-sided win for him, Masvidal absolutely blasted him in some of those exchanges. And if that was Leon instead of Masvidal, he may have finished him. I'm going to lean Leon here, but if Kobe shows up without any ring rust, if he shows up with all the cardio, he could do what Usman couldn't. Win a come-forward, nonstop, wrestling pace type fight. The pick is going to be Leon. Absolutely no bet here. And let's not forget, Colby Covington is claiming that he has brain damage from when Jorge Masvidal fought him in a restaurant. So apparently, we have a brain-dead Colby Covington stepping up to fight for the title. I think Colby Covington's always going to be the bridesmaid, never the bride. I think Leon's striking is just too good, too much, and he's not going to let Colby sort of take that breath. But I could be dead wrong, and Colby Covington could be a wet blanket. That's why there's no bet here. You don't need to bet on every single fight. Sometimes just watch the main event with no pressure, and I can just enjoy the fight. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. Guys, let's not forget about the giveaway. I will give you $1,000. The only thing you need to do is click subscribe to 2 channels and comment on a giveaway video. That's it. Subscribe to We Want Picks on YouTube. Subscribe to Picks Nation on YouTube. Comment on the giveaway video. We will use a random comment picker to pick the comment, and we will give you $500. If you happen to be a premium member, we will give you $1,000. The links to do all of that are in the description below. And premium membership is more than just doubling your money on a giveaway. You're also going to get all the picks, all the bets, the round line leans, the confidence plays, and tools. One of those tools is the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. 38 columns of information that you can use while building your fantasy lineups, finding your prop bet spots, and doing all of that. You're also going to get the line movement tracker, opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every single fighter on every single card. You're going to get a DraftKings Fantasy Optimizer. This will literally build 150 lineups for you. It'll build 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 150 lineups with a couple of clicks. It is preloaded with the best fantasy data in the space. That's a fact. I know obviously I'm going to say these things, but that is actually a fact that you can measure, an objective data point. And you're going to get more than just me, more than Baby Red. You're going to get the MMA Minute, his picks, his bets. He's got 2 different parlays he puts out every week, the Big Chalk Parlay and the Full Send Parlay. You're going to get Running Mouth MMA. There are 3 of them giving you picks, bets, insight. You're going to get Artem breaking down far more than just UFC. He's giving you PFL, Bellator, Cage Warriors, all of those shows. And then the Pick Doctor, who has developed an AI picking fights solely based off of historical data. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It is only $10 a month.